The idea of plugging a webcam into your Switch is not a selling feature when the most asked for items were FPS and console power to run resource-heavy games.
As far as it being a time waster, I think it's just really an extra thing. I mean, because the thing that people were asking for was a more powerful piece of hardware, and that's what they gave us.
Like the items themselves are not the kind of thing that price-sensitive parents are going to be comfortable putting into the hands of their children.
Like, wait, you saying that like parents are not going to be comfortable putting these expensive items in their kids' hands? Do you know one thing that kids touch more than they touch their own parents themselves? Phones. They cost like 2 or 3 Switch 2s. And guess what? If that kid is yelling, they will give that $1,500 device to that kid like that.
For Nintendo to be making such a fuss about it right now, it makes me question the implications behind it. Why is this so important to advertise? Why focus on...
Because people, like you, ask for transparency, and they're being transparent about this.
Number 4, it's the Trump tariffs that raise the price.
All right, let's see what it says about the Trump tariff. Oh, okay, it's not true.
That's not true at all, and it was confirmed today by Doug Bowser himself.
Most people don't really want to cross Trump unless they're like Trump deranged, right? Most companies don't want to do that. Most companies don't want to be the next Bud Light or the next Target. All right, they don't want to do that, especially Nintendo. All right, so Nintendo is not going to come out and be like, well, guys, we're sorry. Like, Donald Trump made your games $80.
There was a full package there. The physical production costs around these games were significantly more impactful at the time. It was more expensive to make an N64 game than it is to make a Blu-ray disc today. So production is not the issue. Also,
No. You ain't getting away with that one. Production is the issue, okay? Because you can't have both. You can't have better looking games, stunning games, or even marginally better looking games, but still pay the same price for them. We want you to make better games. We want you to take a shorter amount of time doing it. We want you to do it on time. We want you to have no DLC, no microtransactions, no aftermarket stuff at all. We don't want you to crunch, no crunching. Respect the employees. We want you to do all this stuff, but we want you to sell us the package at $60. You can't do that. What is up, YouTube? My name is Mario, aka the Lootbox Hero. Check out the second channel because the second channel is popping. I just dropped a video over there about the crazy lady on Twitter that doesn't like man children. That was fun. Aka the real Super Mario, aka YouTube's greatest fat man here, bringing you another video. All right, so we are going to continue with our Tears of the Haters, basically covering the reaction to the Switch 2. We have a previous visitor to the channel, Real Life Wizard. So he dropped a couple videos on the Switch 2. This one specifically, the Nintendo is run by Spineless Cowards. So this should be interesting. So I had already kind of tangled with one of his videos that he did about Pokemon. Where he was talking about how Pokemon is not a creative business. You know, all they do is let you catch Pokemon and battle Pokemon. That's not creative. It's not creative. You know. So we did that. So we're gonna go ahead and see what he's got to say about the Switch 2. I don't think it's going to be good. Of course, you want to continue getting videos from me. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button, do all the good stuff that YouTube requires you to do to continue getting videos from me. Follow me at twitter.com/RSMario128. Like my video tweet, share my video tweet, and I'll shout you out at this portion of the video. All right, so first off, before I get into it, I'm not trying to shill for Nintendo. All right, because I feel like people might see it that way because I kind of defend Nintendo. But I'm only doing this because I feel like there's a weird hate wave around the system right now. All right, and it's kind of like some of it is like misinformation, you know. I criticize Nintendo a lot. I criticize Nintendo on the expansion pack for Nintendo Switch Online, which I still don't have to this day. I still have a regular Nintendo Switch Online account. All right, I don't have the expansion pack. Now, I probably will get it for the GameCube for the Switch 2 because of the GameCube stuff, but I don't have it. And I probably will never have it for my regular Switch. All right. I criticized them on the launch of Scarlet and Violet, even though that was more the Pokemon company, but Nintendo was still involved in that. I criticized Nintendo on what they did to the Tears of the Kingdom story and how it virtually just doesn't connect to Breath of the Wild at all. There's no divine beast, no nothing. It's just crazy what they did with the story. I've criticized Nintendo a lot, and I will continue to criticize Nintendo, but I usually criticize Nintendo in good faith. I don't try to make up lies. I don't try to make up hyperbolic stuff to ride the wave and do all this other kind of crazy stuff. So we're gonna talk about that today. Let's get on into it real quick.
Hello, I'm the real-life Fake Wizard. Today, I am going to discuss the recent controversy featuring the Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo, the company, has chosen to make the process of migrating from Switch 1 to Switch 2 confusing, expensive, and borderline offensive. I am going to attempt to address every piece of this controversy and do so without getting emotionally animated. I believe that once I present all of the information, you may agree with me and my claims that not only is Nintendo managed by spineless cowards,
boy, that escalated quickly.
but also that Nintendo's strategies for the Switch 2 are evidence of corporatism that is anti-consumer. If, by the end of this video, I have brought you any value, consider subscribing to this channel if you are not already subscribed. I would also say, if you have a friend or two who need to hear about how Nintendo is trying to screw over their customers, you might do well to share this video with them too. Thank you, and let's begin.
Okay.
Behold the magic of
Behold the magic of
organic
the Wizard's
matcha.
Brew.
All the energy without the jitters. Support the channel and get yours today at fakewizard.com. Firstly, who am I? I am the real-life Fake Wizard. I'm a business owner outside of the wizard persona. I am speaking as someone who has been educated in business and marketing, and I am also an avid gamer, spending copious hours of my free time engaging in video games. So I am speaking to this controversy as a business-minded individual and a consumer of these products. Now, as most of you already know, on April 2nd, Nintendo held a 1-hour live stream where they showcased the Nintendo Switch. They showed off all the new features, add-ons, and announced a bunch of new games. And for the most part, everyone was pretty happy. Most of the internet was content with these announcements. But Nintendo sneakily refrained from announcing the price of the console, accessories, and games.
They announced
Instead,
it, though.
opting to have that information published through the proxy of the Access Media, instead of announcing it themselves. To date, as of right now, at the time of recording this, Nintendo has just finally responded to the pricing situation. They have hidden behind the Access Media journalists until this point, where Doug Bowser gave an interview to CNBC, where he confirmed that the price of the console was not with the consideration of tariffs. They believe the price of the console should be worth more than the Switch 1, and that the price of the games
consoles,
should be elevated based on the game
From case-to-case
itself.
basis.
This is important to note. The tariffs had nothing to do with the price, and these decisions were made well ahead of time. But
All right, so I'm gonna stop it right there because I think this is a little bit of misinformation. So, no company in this political climate is going to say that they did something in response to something that Trump did. All right, because if you don't know what's going on, if you're not from America, you don't know the political climate here, it's kind of crazy right now. And that's coming from a lifelong conservative, okay? All right, if you say that you're making a business decision in response to something that was done by the president, a hate mob of Trump cultists will rise up from the sea to assault thee, okay? All right? Because they're saying, oh, Nintendo made it political. They're trying to say that Trump did this. They're trying to blame Trump. That's what they would say, all right? And yes, trust me, I run in a lot of these circles because I've been a Republican for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And they get like crazy when it comes to anybody that criticizes Trump like at all. You know, so definitely Nintendo probably would not want to say that they did this for the tariffs, because if they did, they would get a whole bunch more backlash. See, Disney might say something like that because Disney has no idea about how to deal with backlash anymore. But Nintendo No, they're like, nah, if we say that, we're going to piss off people. So let's just say that no, it didn't have anything to do with the tariffs. That's why we don't piss off Trump. We don't piss off the Trump cultists, and then we can just keep it moving. Because, I mean, the reaction on the internet is bad, but the pre-orders in Europe and Japan sold out like that. So it just proves to you that the internet is not a real place sometimes.
Their decisions to not be transparent as to why has only led to more confusion and outrage, rightfully so, from the public. Nintendo has chosen to charge considerably high prices on the console, yes, but almost more importantly, the games. Switch 2 games are clocking in arbitrarily at $80 in the United States, and in many other countries, games cost even more. Nintendo's failure to address the public themselves is cowardice. They are choosing to charge prices for games that will send ripple effects across the entire industry, and it will impact everyone, whether you're a Nintendo gamer or not. We'll talk about that more in a minute. And even so, they don't have the courage to tell us to our faces what they're doing or why. They are not being transparent, even after this interview with Doug Bowser. He is not giving nearly enough information that would put everyone's minds at ease. They're not defending their choice to charge more money. They're hiding. I have lost tremendous respect for.
This is kind of crazy. So since when does a company need to defend, like, their choice of pricing of a product? All right, we live in a free market. All right, companies answer to the government and to regulatory bodies, but as long as their pricing is in cooperation with whatever the regulatory body is for that country, they don't have to explain their pricing to anybody. Like, this demand for transparency, like, this isn't the government. You can't just ask for a Freedom of Information Act and be like, hey, can you tell us why the Switch is $450? Like, you can't do that. Like, if they want to price it if they want to price it at $450, they can price it at $450. Like, this demand for transparency, like, stop it. All right. 2, if you really want to think about why the system is priced that much, 1, again, it is definitely for the tariffs. All right, because Nintendo moved their development from China, or their manufacturing from China to Vietnam, to avoid tariffs anyway. And then Trump blanket tariffed the entire planet, essentially. So it was definitely because of the tariffs. All right. 2, the Switch 2 is more powerful than the Switch. So whenever a system goes from generation to generation, there's usually a price increase, okay? All right, the PS4 costs less than the PS5. All right, the Xbox Series X costs more than the Xbox, what was the previous Xbox?
We don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just the way this has gone on forever. So why is it such a weird thing that Nintendo's doing it? You know what I'm saying? They even made it simple. All right, it's Switch 2. Oh, so it's the new one. That's why it costs more money. Like, okay, though.
For them on this point. They hid the price from their live streams, they themselves haven't addressed it much at all, and they used the journalists as punching bags, which I can only expect means they're hoping we'll all just shut up and get over it. Obviously not. Nintendo doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt anymore. This is sneaky, and it's disingenuous. The console. When we look at the console itself and its price point of $450 for the base model, let's also understand that this doesn't come with any games. So it's $450, and then you need to spend $80 to also get Mario Kart World. Now, some of you might be saying, Wizard, just get the Mario Kart bundle. And to that, I would say, that's going to sell out first. Those bundles are going to be hard to acquire, meaning that most consumers need to be prepping for a $530 transaction, not a $450 one. And that doesn't include tax either. The pricing of the console itself is not great. Nintendo was previously considered to be price sensitive for families, as they mostly focus on making family games. A Switch one today, including Super Mario Wonder, retails for $350. That's $100 less and includes one of the biggest titles on the Switch console. A $450 console price might not be out of the question for someone like me or you, perhaps, but there are going to be lots and lots of families all over the world who are priced out of this.
Oh,
and
think of
really,
the
here's
children.
why. If the price of the console isn't enough to put them out of the market altogether, the price of the games is the final nail. $80 games is a lot of money in an economic time where people are struggling to pay their bills. But focusing more on the console for right now, this system is launching with an LCD screen, which is what the base Switch launched with back in 2017. That's almost 10 years ago. They are launching the Switch 2 in 2025 with over 10-year-old technology inside of it, which is fundamentally promising you that they are going to release a Super Switch 2 in 2 or 3 years, which does have an OLED screen. We know that OLED screens are possible. This plays into that trust factor.
Boy, the trust factor, bro. This man talks like he's talking to his wife. Like he's like I married you, Nintendo, and you betrayed me.
You are tearing me apart.
Nintendo, chill out, okay? All right, one, yes, they put a regular LCD screen in it and not an OLED because more than likely they are gonna make a Switch to OLED. But this is how Nintendo has always done this. If you go all the way back to the Game Boy, all right, and the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance, and then the Game Boy Advance SP, the DS, the DS Lite, the 3DS, the new 3DS, then there was a 3DS Lite, I think, as well. Like, they always do this where they start off here, and then they iterate, and then they iterate again, and there's usually like 2 or 3 of these suckers by the end of the generation. Look at the Switch. The Switch, they had the Switch, and then they had the Switch Lite, and then they had the Switch OLED. Why is it so different now? Like, why is it a problem now that they're doing it when they've been doing this the whole time? Like, this isn't like a new shadowy band technique that they're using. This is not a new meta. This is the same thing they've always been doing. All right, not to mention, I mean, if you want to talk about like, the price of the system, like if they would have put an OLED in there from the jump, it would have made the system cost more. And then you would have been even more mad that the system costs more money. Come on, bro.
To a good start with the accessories. And it doesn't get much better. The camera and microphone gimmicks that they are pushing are not inspiring in the slightest. The idea of using a camera with your games is reminiscent of the Xbox Kinect, and that didn't end very well for Microsoft at all. The idea of plugging a webcam into your Switch is not a selling feature when the most asked for items were FPS and console power to run resource-heavy games. This is a time waster that gamers don't want or need. Then we look at the pricing on the rest of the accessories. The television doc set is...
So, here's the thing. So this is kind of crazy because it shows how, like, this guy doesn't know much about Nintendo history. So, if you go all the way back to the Switch days, to the Wii days, right? There was this little podcast, one of the first Nintendo podcasts on the internet that I can remember. It was called Nintendo Voice Chat, all right? And it was mainly made that way by the guys at IGN because people were asking for voice chat on the Switch. On the Wii. All right, and this is all the way back in the Wii. We've been asking for a dedicated voice chat feature on this console for a long time. All right, we've been asking for it through the Wii U, the Switch, and now we're here, okay? So to say, nobody was really asking for this feature is kind of crazy because we were asking for the feature. So as far as like as far as it being a time waster, I think it's just really an extra thing. Because the thing that people were asking for was a more powerful piece of hardware, and that's what they gave us.
But these prices are not for kids. Like, the items themselves are not the kind of thing that price-sensitive parents are going to be comfortable putting into the hands of their children.
Say that again?
Like, the items themselves are not the kind of thing that price-sensitive parents are going to be comfortable putting into the hands of their children.
Like, wait, you saying that parents are not going to be comfortable putting these expensive items in their kids' hands? Do you know one thing that kids touch more than they touch their own parents themselves? Phones. All right, now my little Pixel 2 I got like several years ago cost me $200. All right, but a new phone now, an iPhone, the new Samsung, whatever, the new Pixel 7 or whatever, they cost like 2 or 3 Switch 2s. And guess what? If that kid is yelling, they will give that $1,500 device to that kid like that. All right, I don't think that's an argument, man. All right, and the same thing. Shoot, look at all the iPad babies out there. All the iPad babies that get babysit by out 6 hour marathons of Cocoa Melon. All right, iPads cost two, three times the Switch 2. And guess what? Again, they will hand that sucker to their kid like that to get that kid off their back. This is not a good argument either.
Let's continue with the assumption that all Switch 2 games will range between $70 and $80. Range here is important. Why is the Donkey Kong Bonanza game $10 less than Mario Kart? Is it shorter in duration? Is there less content? What's the reason behind it? Or flip it around. Why is Mario Kart $10 more than a mainline Donkey Kong title? This is confusing and doesn't make any sense. Are you just giving prices to things randomly?
I think that's what they do with all their games. But here's the thing. Donkey Kong is not as big of a franchise as Mario Kart. Donkey Kong in itself is not really that big of a Nintendo franchise. Like, I mean, yeah, it was one of the early franchises, and he's one of their OG characters, but Donkey Kong in, like, recent years doesn't sell as much as, like, Mario, Zelda, maybe even Fire Emblem sometimes. All right, like, there's a reason why they released Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze twice, okay, because it doesn't sell that much, all right, so, of course, they would sell this to you cheaper than they would for, like, the main event, main title games. Now, I will admit this is a little skeevy, but at least you're not going to have to pay $90 for a freaking Donkey Kong game, all right? Now, the thing is, I've already explained why the games are the price they are in the last video, so if you want to check that out, you can.
Or is there logic here? As a customer of these things, I'd like to understand why things are priced the way that they are. Furthering this pricing confusion, let's look at the...
Not to mention, this whole transparency thing is kind of pissing me off. I feel like this is like some weird, like, political pervertry that people kind of pull in these conversations. Do you go to Burger King and ask them why the Whopper is cost at the way it is? Do you go to McDonald's and ask, why is the Big Mac cost this much money? Can you tell me? Is it like premium sesame seeds on the bun? All right, are they like premium onions? Like, is that piece of bread in the middle like some brioche bread or something? Why do you price Big Macs the way you do? Nobody asks these questions, all right? Like, the same thing. Nobody asked Sony why they priced the PS5, the price that they made it. Why is the PS5 $500? Why was there a price increase at one point, if I'm not mistaken? I might be mistaken on this because I'm doing this off the dome, but there was a PS5 price increase. Why did that happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody asked these questions. Why is it now all of a sudden we need to start asking? We need transparency on why you make your business decisions, Nintendo. Like, get out of here, Mr. Consumer Reports.
Switch 2 editions of Switch 1 games. Nintendo is re-releasing games like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and Kirby Forgotten Land in a new Switch 2 box.
Is he gonna do it? Come on.
Including new add-ons in the form of the Switch 2 upgrade pack. Bear with me here, because this is a lot to go over, and they've done a horrible job on explaining this. Let's look at Breath of the Wild here. This game came out in 2017 and has been played for hundreds of hours by hundreds of thousands of people. Last we saw, Breath of the Wild has accumulated over 32 million unit sales. That's a lot of sales. Nintendo is re-releasing this game for the Switch 2 with a price tag of $70. The game is almost 10 years old, and anyone who is going to play it probably already has. $70 is a lot of money for this old game, and if we read the fine print here, we'll see that inside of this Switch 2 box is a Switch 1 game and the Nintendo Switch 2 upgrade pack. What does that mean? And why isn't Nintendo explaining it to us better? Because
there's no need to explain it. Like, what do they need? A diagram that says this right here in the box is a Switch 1 game, and then this little piece of paper is a download code for the upgrades to Switch 2. That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Now, we made this nice YouTube video to let you know how this works. Because Nintendo, we're transparent. And we think you're retarded.
What that looks like it means is when you buy one of these re-released games, you're getting a Switch 1 cartridge and a download code for the Switch 2 upgrade pack. Nowhere online do we see any information actually confirming what's in the box. So even with this fine print on the front, it's kind of meaningless. If this is true and these old games are just old games with DLC codes inside, GameStop is cooked. The used marketplace will suffer greatly, but more so, the reason to buy physical copies at all will be a moot point. You may own the plastic box, but you're not actually getting the full physical copy of your games. It's for reasons like this, plus the $10 increase to physical editions we're seeing in Spain, that I have to wonder, is Nintendo trying to kill physical editions altogether? There's one more piece of this to back up the physical edition market being affected idea. Game key cards. Nintendo is making a big deal lately about how some Switch 2 games are going to come with this disclaimer on the box that what you're buying is a game key card, that inside the box is not a complete edition of your game, but instead the full game will be downloaded via internet required. I know this isn't new, and that there are a handful of games that work like this on the Switch 1, but for Nintendo to be making such a fuss about it right now, it makes me question the implications behind it. Why is this so important to advertise? Why focus on...
Because people, like you, ask for transparency, and they're being transparent about this. All right. 2, I also have a theory here that they're doing this for piracy. All right. I feel like that's a possibility. All right. That they're doing this to prevent piracy, because this way, if the game is not on the card, it's a lot easier for people to dump the card and then leak the game. All right. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that companies might not want to use the high-end expensive card that's going to be required for games that are over 60 gigs. Now, Cyberpunk is using the high-end card for their version of the game on Switch 2. All right, not all companies are probably going to want to do that, so this is an alternative. All right, so if your game is going to be, over 65 gigs or whatever, and you don't want to pay for the high-end card, you could just get a game key card, and we'll just put the card in there, and then they'll just download it like that, wham bam. That's my theory, but it is, I could be wrong.
Who is telling the truth here? My friends, this brings us into discussing the ramifications of charging $80 for Switch 2 games. Clearly, this whole pricing thing is a mess, but the concept of charging $80 for a video game, at least outright, is baffling. There's actually a huge difference between something like Kirby and the Forgotten Lands versus Mario Kart World. See, Kirby is the best-selling Kirby game in the franchise, and what you're getting in the $80 Switch 2 edition is the full original Switch game, but also allegedly $20 worth of new content. With that game, it's like getting the season pass with it, so it's a little different, and I wish they did a better job of explaining that. But at least I can understand it. If you don't own Kirby already, you can buy this version, which comes with a season pass DLC. That's fine. Mario Kart World, on the other hand, doesn't get off so easily. The market price for AAA games is $69.99. That's already too much in the eyes of most gamers, Nintendo or not. That's a lot of money, especially when you don't know if you're going to enjoy the thing you're buying. For Nintendo to choose now to increase prices on baseline games, not including DLC like Kirby does, it makes me say, you're killing the video game market. If people are already uncomfortable and unhappy paying $70 for games, raising it up to $79.
He got this yee freaking sad music in the background. It's like, oh my gosh, he's killing the game market. Bro, that's kind of crazy. I explained this in the other video, why video games are going to cost the prices that they're going to cost. All right. Do you know what's killing the video game market? All right. The cost of making video games is killing the video game market. The cost of making video games is astronomical, all right? And so you wanted Nintendo to improve making video games, make better looking video games, make better performing video games. So they did. And of course, these are the first generation of Switch 2 games, so it can only get better from here. Knock on wood. But it can only get better from here. All right, so you asked them to improve, they improved. All right, Nintendo also hasn't fired anybody. They haven't cut any staff. They haven't closed any studios. They haven't, they've given people raises. Nintendo, as far as treating their workers and improving the games, have done everything that you would want a company to do. So, of course, they're going to charge you a little bit extra for it. All right? I don't really see why this is a bad thing. I mean, if anything, Nintendo is trying to save the industry. Because if you keep selling games at $70, but making them at freaking $700 million, the game industry is going to die. Like, you have to increase the price eventually. Do I want to pay $70 for video games? No. I mean, $80 for video games? No. But I understand why they're doing it.
Now, I'd like to address a series of arguments I've seen floating around the internet about this price increase, because there have been a series of terrible arguments that just defend Nintendo at a time where all of this is corporate greed. Everything we've discussed so far is just corporate greed on full display. Number one, games were more expensive in the 90s, so they're okay to raise the price now. No, it's not okay right now. This photo and many like it keep floating around Twitter, saying that games were so much more expensive in the 90s and that we should just shut up and pay what we have to now. But the circumstances then were extraordinarily different. Firstly, that $80 plus got you a physical game with a physical chip inside and the box and manuals. There was a full package there. The physical production costs around these games were significantly more impactful at the time. It was more expensive to make an N64 game than it is to make a Blu-ray disc today. So production is not the issue. Also,
No. You ain't getting away with that one. Production is the issue. Okay, it costs I explained this in the other video, but I'm gonna give you a little snippet of it here. It costs $700 million. Okay, that is 3 Marvel movies to make Call of Duty Cold War. All right, 700 million. If they had to make $700 million games in the 90s, bro, the game industry would have died immediately, okay? All right? You know what I'm saying? It costs more to make games now than it has ever cost before. It might not cost more for the cartridge and the box and the paper, the little paper slide art thing that goes in there. That's not it, okay? But it costs more to make each video game than it has ever cost before. Like, back in the day, the most expensive game ever made was Shenmue. Right? I believe it was like, what, $50 million? Bro, $50 million is a drop in the bucket compared to like the $700 million for Call of Duty or the $250 million for Spider-Man 2. Like, what? It boggles the mind that people don't really understand like the cost of doing business in this industry. All right? And here's the thing. If you want video games to stay $60, what should they do? Should they reduce the quality of games, which they've already have, because games come out like garbage now? All right, should they aim lower? Should they not make visually impressive games? Should we get rid of the God rays and the 4K and the 35,000 teraflops? Should we do that? Should we, or should we reduce the cost of the labor in the game industry? Should we fire 10,000 more people? Because that's about the amount of people that's been fired since, 2024? All right, or should we pay them less? All right, you know what I'm saying? Should we pay the people making the games less so that we can keep the price down? Is that what you would like us to do? You know what I'm saying? What would you like video game companies to do to keep the price down? Because you can't have both. You can't have better looking games, stunning games, or even marginally better looking games, but still pay the same price for them. You can't have these two. They have to meet here. You can't have the game companies, we want you to make better games. We want you to take a shorter amount of time doing it. We want you to do it on time. We want you to have no DLC, no microtransactions, no aftermarket stuff at all. We want you to pay your people a living wage. We want you to not fire them. We want you to buy studios that are in trouble. We want you to do all this kind of stuff. We don't want you to crunch. No crunching. Respect the employees. We want you to do all this stuff, but we want you to sell us the package at $60. You can't do that. This is not that industry anymore. All right? I'm going to be honest with you. It sucks, but the industry has changed. The economy has changed. Technology has changed. So either you want a Super Nintendo game at Super Nintendo game prices, you know what I'm saying? Or you want a PS3 game at PS3 game prices. But if you want better video games, this is the price. If you want the industry to stop treating its people like garbage, kind of like Nintendo does, because they do, this is the price. I'm just saying, like, that's crazy.
The development teams were smaller, the industry was smaller, it was harder to break even, the buyer's market was ridiculously smaller compared to today. None of that is applicable right now. The video game industry is bigger than Hollywood and the American music industry combined. Games are accessible because there is a Switch console in every one out of 3 houses in the United States. That's how much the Switch has penetrated the US market. 1 in 3. There's no reason to compare today's prices to the 90s, when the industry was just getting into the deep end of the pool. Number 2, it's inflation. No, it's not. And this is one of the most annoying points that people...
So everything costs more, right? So inflation boosts the price of everything, but video games. That's what it is? Oh, no, it's not inflation. No. Everything in the world costs more, from a bag of Cheetos to a house. But that doesn't affect the video games, though.
Keep making that game prices are going up because of inflation. Well, if you go by those numbers that keep floating around, games should be something like $130 if you were going by the inflation numbers, right? Well, let me ask you this. Would you pay $130 for video games? Not one specific, not just one type of game. Would you pay $130 market price for games? The answer should be overwhelmingly no. So inflation is not true because it's not true to the actual inflation rate. And more importantly...
So, okay.
Value proposition and willingness to pay. Inflation rate is just a number. Has the value of the games increased? Are you getting more?
The inflation rate is just a number. Like, yes, it's the most important number, because if the currency is not worth as much as it used to be, then of course you're going to need to charge more of it for your item. Saying that inflation, bro, this is like when, oh my God, this is like when the liberals said that inflation is just transitory. It's just transitory. It'll be fine. And then it skyrocketed, and then eggs cost, like, you had to take out a loan to buy some eggs. Bro, the whole point of one of the biggest reasons for increasing the price of any good or service in this economy is because of inflation and tariffs. But I have a feeling you're probably going to get to the tariffs too.
Game for your buck now? No? I certainly don't think so, especially from Nintendo. All of these games are the same thing over and over. That doesn't mean it's bad. It means it's the exact same thing with a fresh coat of yellow paint, which means the value of the item hasn't increased. Okay. Then, willingness to pay. Are you willing to pay more money for these things? Because that trumps inflation 10 times out of 10. If they put Knack 3 up there for $130, what is your willingness to pay for that? 0%. It better be 0%. Same thing. Inflation could say that games should cost over $100, but if the market isn't willing to pay that price, the price comes down to match what buyers are willing to spend. That's part of the free market speaking. Number 3, it's more expensive to make games now. Not really. No, not for Nintendo anyway.
I'm not going to do this. No. We got to skip this one. There's no way he's going to tell me that the Nintendo, I need to make the same thing. Mario Kart will cost the same amount as Mario Kart. Like they didn't pay the extra money for it, even though the game's bigger, it's got more graphics. There's no way, there's no possible way. I'm not doing it. We're not going here, man. Skip this. Nah, this is gonna piss me off. Skip it.
Will be. They are the juggernaut in the games market. The tariffs are still very much up in the air. It's the Trump tariffs that raise the price. Will be. They are the juggernaut in the games marketplace, and their game development costs are nothing next to almost every other company. The $80 games are entirely greed. Number 4. It's the Trump tariffs that raise the price.
All right, let's see what it says about the Trump tariff. Oh, okay. It's not true.
That's not true at all, and it was confirmed today by Doug Bowser himself. The prices for these systems and games.
I already talked about this earlier in the video. Nobody's ever gonna say that because I'll get a little political with you. Since, a lot of people probably aren't gonna make it this far in the video anyway. So, most people don't really want to cross Trump unless they're like Trump deranged, right? Like the Trump deranged left will cross Trump, right? Because they don't really care, all right? They're Trump deranged. Because these Trump deranged people know that these Trump deranged people are going to go crazy if they cross the God King. Most companies don't want to do that. Most companies don't want to be the next Bud Light or the next Target. All right? They don't want to do that, especially Nintendo. All right? So Nintendo's not going to come out and be like, well, guys, we're sorry. Like, Donald Trump made your games $80 because they know that they would be the next Target or the next Bud Light. They're not going to do that. Like, all right, so saying that the Trump tariffs aren't the reason is just like, I don't want to say it's disingenuous, but I don't want to say it's dishonest. That argument is just kind of wrong, bro. Like, literally, that's the direct reason for doing this. The software is held by the Japanese tariffs, and the hardware is held by the tariffs on Vietnam. That's basically what it is, all right? But let's see. I'll give him a chance to explain.
Games were raised before the tariffs were put in place. The tariffs are still very much up in the air. We do not know how everything is going to be ironed out or how it will impact us. Number 5 is a response to a comment I got on my last video.
And he didn't even explain it. That means that he had nothing. He had nothing for that talking point. He says, "Oh, it's not because of the tariffs, just because." It's not, guys. Just believe me. Because I am the wizard and I am transparent.
Video. Quote, "I'm not poor or cheap. I don't care how much it costs." Buddy, you are a moron. I'm not cheap or poor.
This is going to be the thing about the people. Why do you have that, let them eat cake argument? Skip.
Getting to the end here, there are some outstanding miscellaneous points that I want to tie up. Firstly, and connecting to something I said earlier, I believe this GameCube emulator, which is paywalled behind both a Switch 2 and an NSO subscription, is software that could have been released years ago. I believe that they've had this completed, and they were specifically holding this to put it behind the Switch 2 as a way to increase the value of the Switch 2, meaning this is supposed to help sweeten the deal. Instead of releasing this software however long ago.
Yeah, that's probably why. Also, it's also technology, because this is cloud software. So I've been talking about for a while, because I actually follow this stuff. I'm not just like a tourist. That they've been working on increasing the power of the cloud technology in Nintendo Switch Online. And more than likely, that's what they're doing here. Now, they probably did hold this so that they can do that, but another reason is tech, all right? Because if you've seen the Nintendo Switch Online, it's not the greatest servers, all right? So hosting GameCube games on those servers, probably not going to be the easiest thing. So it's a little bit more tech than just, oh, we're just trying to hold this to sweeten the deal. Even though if that's what they were doing, it's business. People do this all the time. You know what I'm saying? Again, look at the analogy when you go to McDonald's, right? They have like the different combos. You know what I'm saying? No, Wendy's. Wendy's, all right? You've got the Dave single, the Dave double, and the Dave triple. Do you go to Wendy's and be like, well, why don't you put the extra 2 patties in the Dave single? Why are you holding those 2 patties back? Are you trying to sweeten the deal to get me to buy a Dave's triple? Yes, it's business. It's business, man.
Now it's an incentive to buy this new console. I don't like that. That feels like dirty sales. It's like buying a car and they put the $300 floor mats in the car you're buying. Like I should be able to get that on my own terms, in my own way. Next, the price of the welcome tour. The tech demo explaining how to use the console is paywalled. This game doesn't even look good. This looks boring and nothing like Astro's Playroom. And the fact that it's going to cost a confirmed $10 is just absurd. You mean I need to buy a $500 console and then pay more money to get the tech demo explaining how the console works?
No, because you could just read the manual that comes in the console. You don't have to buy the stupid tech demo. The only reason you're doing this is for dramatic effect. This argument is lame.
What kind of corporatist nonsense is that? And furthering that, this entire thing is corporate greed from top to bottom. Nintendo is not a poor company. They make billions every year. And I'm thinking of all the parents and grandmothers who go to buy their kids and grandkids games only to find that...
Think of the old people and the children. Please think of the old people and the children and let me buy your $80 game for $60.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Think of the children and the old people. All right, so this video is like super duper long. It's probably gonna take me like a day and some change to edit this. And this was supposed to come out today, which is Tuesday. It's probably not gonna come out till Wednesday now, but it is what it is. Tell me what you think about it down below. If you want to watch the full video, because some of this is gonna be edited out, you can go over to Real Life Wizard. Don't attack him. All right, all of this is really just debating his points. I have nothing against him. He seems like a cool person. Some of the stuff that he talks about I actually agree with. So don't attack him. Don't be mean to him. It is what it is. All right, we just doing what we doing here in the video. Tell me what you're thinking about. Tell me what you think about this in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, people, keep it real.